Imagine spending hundreds of pounds on your first Warhammer army because it's one of the strongest armies in the game, only to find 6 months later that you don't enjoy painting it, building it, playing it, or any of the aspects in between. That's a pretty big problem in the current world of Warhammer. And that's why today we're covering the concept called Rule of Cool. This might save you hundreds of pounds over time, and it's a pretty cool concept that I still use to this day. Whether you're completely new to Warhammer or whether you're starting your second army, one of the most important questions that comes up is what army should I choose? Most people look at win rates, tier lists, what's the most powerful, and sort of base their decision on that information. I think that's the wrong place to start. Instead, let me introduce you to the concept of Rule of Cool. So what actually is the Rule of Cool? The Rule of Cool is super simple. You choose an army based off of the aesthetic and the playstyle and all that sort of thing that you really want to enjoy playing. Whether you think that you have loads of jump packs running at someone, you think that's super cool, or whether you think having the best guns in the game is really cool and shooting them from long range. All of this is super cool. Not the strongest, not the cheapest, not the easiest. It's the one that you think is the coolest. The one that makes you stop scrolling and think, I want that on my shelf. So let's go into why it matters. The Rule of Cool is something that a lot of people will say and people don't really fully understand sometimes. But ultimately, this is based off of your own perceptions and your own opinions on the models that are in front of you. Now, some people say that they really love Tau and they love the robot Gundam sort of style, which is super cool. Now, the reason why it's important is when you're starting a faction for the first time, you want to make sure that you're going to be enjoying the process around the building and painting of side of things, or converting and all that sort of thing, and also play. But it's super important to get these things nailed down and something that you enjoy, because if you don't really enjoy what you're doing with the hobby, then you get burnt out, you start to not enjoy it, and you start to lose love from it. And that's when you start to jump onto the next thing. That's where you start to go into the pile of shame, which is a video I did the other day. But ultimately, the reason why it's so important is because it really helps you have those measured effects and helps you really hone in on something that you really enjoy and will enjoy for many years to come. Rules change constantly. I mean, every 3 months, there is a new miniature and field manual, which changes points. There's rules changes on factions that are too strong, and hence why it's really difficult to get a gauge on what you should be collecting based off of strength. Now, if I was going to choose a faction to just play and have your best chance of doing well in games, I'd just choose Space Marines, because we're always relevant somewhere. But ultimately, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the reasons why people steer away from the Rule of Cool. And the reason why is because they want to have a really strong army. Now, that doesn't last long, as I've mentioned. So if you have an army that you really enjoy, and you enjoy feeling on the battlefield, you enjoy shoving into people's faces if you're playing combat, or you enjoy removing models from the battlefield with your incredibly powerful shooting, you need to make sure that you have that style locked in and have that style to hand that you can enjoy every game you play. Today's strongest army might not be very strong in about 6 months, but your models will be with you forever, so it's very important that you really like to look at those models and really enjoy the process in terms of the hobby. And you'll actually finish an army. Now, finishing an army is a very difficult prospect. It's a very daunting prospect for a lot of people. Some armies have hundreds of models, some armies have 50, but ultimately all of which have a very specific goal in mind when you're trying to reach your 2,000 points. So if you want to reach 2,000 points as soon as possible, just have a think about what army is going to suit you to do that, and also which army you're going to enjoy painting. Because you'll actually finish an army if you buy a load of models that you enjoy painting, because you have a lot of love for that. Whereas if you buy a 2,000 point army just because they're really strong, you're going to end up in a situation where you might not really love the models and you won't finish them. Or if you do finish them, it's going to be for a tournament. You're going to rush them, and in about a year's time, you're going to look at them and think, oh, why didn't I spend some more time on them? Or you just won't enjoy them after they get nerfed, which means you're just buying another army. People are much more likely to finish projects they're genuinely excited about and genuinely get excited to pick up the brush and put paint to miniatures. You'll stay motivated. You'll enjoy playing, because every time, even when I'm using armies that I really like my Night Lords, even when they're not the most strong, I really enjoy playing them because I get to see my army that I've put a lot of time into on the battlefield, and I really get to enjoy that process. And ultimately, the Night Lords sometimes are okay, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but I'll play them either way. So when you're proud of an army, it really adds up, and it means that you can really enjoy the process of you playing them on the battlefield. And when you get all these compliments from your opponents saying they look really cool, or even if you just really enjoy the aesthetic of certain conversions and stuff, all of those really help you in terms of achieving the motivation that you need to finish an army, play an army, and enjoy the hobby with that army. You'll love displaying it. Now, with my Night Lords, I love showing them off. I love going to tournaments and putting them out for best painted. I don't win very often. I've won 2, but I don't win them very often. But I really enjoy having people come over and be like, oh, those Night Lords look cool. And it gives you a lot of like free dopamine from people just telling you like that things look cool. Because even if they aren't the best painted, or even if they're not the best painted, people are going to appreciate the fact that you've got a fully painted army in front of them. And they're going to really, really enjoy that. And especially when you go down to the nitty gritty where like you put some extra effort into the bases, or you put some extra effort into the conversions, all of these little things add up, and you'll really like showing them off to your opponent at a tournament, for example, or just in casual games. It'll look great on the battlefield. And that'll mean that you'll want to keep adding to that army, and it's going to look really, really awesome. Half the fun of Warhammer is looking at what you've built and looking at what you've painted and thinking, oh, that was so cool. When not to follow the rule of cool? There's a few exceptions for the rule of cool. So ultimately, everyone has limitations in terms of the hobby that they enjoy and the hobby that they don't enjoy. So the first thing is, if you don't like painting hordes, but you think hordes are really cool, might not be the best idea to pick up hordes, because you're going to get burnt out on them. I like painting hordes because I think it's a big challenge that you get to build towards and get it finished at the end. And when a horde is finished, oh, awesome. But if you don't enjoy painting hordes, that is going to be a limitation here. You want to make sure that you are enjoying the process throughout, and if you don't enjoy painting hordes, just don't do them, because I think that they are quite challenging in terms of assembly and painting, and that can really burn you out, and especially for your first army. If you follow the rule of cool and go, I love looking at 200 orc boys, but you forget for your first 30 and absolutely hate it, you're going to have the same issues if you didn't follow the rule of cool. So there are exceptions. Exception 2, if you dislike the playstyle. If you look at an army and you think that looks great and you love custodes, but you don't really like playing super like cute and super like tradey and keeping everything safe with your custodes, and you don't like that sort of playstyle, or you don't like the clever movement tricks from the bikes and all that sort of thing, that army is not for you. Because if you're not going to enjoy playing with them, even if you think custodians look really cool, just use them as a painting project. I'm not saying don't buy them, just use them as a painting project instead. But if you're buying an army to play a lot, you need to make sure that you enjoy that playstyle. Because if you don't enjoy that playstyle, you're gonna notice, and you're gonna get frustrated and burnt out and not want to play anymore. So always have a look at the playstyle of the army that you're going to pick. Even if you're incorporating rule of cool, just make sure it lines up with the sort of thing that you want to achieve with your hobby. You might love the look of Astra Militarum, but you hate moving dozens of infantry around every turn. And that matters. Your opinion on your playstyle matters. Rule of cool is great, but just make sure that you enjoy what you're doing. Exception 3, budget. So every army costs a different amount. So if you have a certain figure in mind that you want to buy your army for, let's say for instance you have like 300 or 400 quid you want to buy spend on your first army, and you really want to do Gene Stealer cults, and you think they look really good, that's going to be a challenge, because that army is exceptionally expensive, very hobby intensive, and not that I'm recommending against it, but it's something you'd have to build up over time. Say, for instance, do 2 lots of 1,000 points if you wanted to have that sort of style. Or if you literally have a very limited budget in the fact that you go, I only want to spend £400 on an army, look at armies like Custodes, Imperial Knights, and all that sort of thing. Or look at weaponizing starter sets to, get your points up high enough that you can get those games going. Because ultimately, budget will dictate on the armies that you do. It just does. Like, I had a project recently I didn't want to spend more than £500 on, so I did Custodes. So, you just need to make sure that you have to look at the armies that you're going to be doing and try to make sure that it lines up with the budget that you have in mind. And ultimately, there are plenty of budget-friendly options with plenty of different play styles within those options. So don't think that just because you like the look of one army that's out of your price range means that there's not another army that will do a similar thing. But that being said, building up an army over time can sort of manage those limitations to an extent with budget, because you can add a unit here and there. It just takes you longer to get there, but ultimately if it's the army that's really correct for you, then I'd recommend doing that instead. So if rule of cool isn't the answer all the time, how do you actually pick an army? So I'm going to give you 5 questions to ask yourself before you pick an army, and the answer to these questions will probably give you a gauge on what you really need to do. Do you love how they look? Do you love the model range? Do you love the Primarch that's incorporated into it, if it's a chapter or a chaos faction? Or if it's demons, do you really enjoy the gross, horrible, fleshy monsters that can turn up and mess people's days up? Or if it's Tau, do you like the look of those Gundam robot guys? It's really important to get this down first. You need to make sure you like the look of the models. Next question is, would you enjoy painting them? If you're looking at the models, are they super detailed and something that you wouldn't really want to do? Is there loads of models that you might think that that's going to be really daunting? You're going to get burnt out. Or do you think, oh, yeah, I love that. I'm up for that challenge. That'd be awesome. Just have a think about Would you enjoy painting the army when you've got it in your basket or you lay it out on TTS? Have a look and think, is that correct for me? Do you like the lore? Now, lore, I think, is really, really cool. And I really like reading the lore. Like the Night Lord's lore and the Conrad Cruz lore is just, chef's kiss. But I read the lore and it got me really into it and gave me a lot of ideas for conversions and mutations sort of thing that the Night Lords might have. And also whether the lightning is actually on their armor or it's just a reflection. Like there's so many different questions with that sort of army that made me think, is this right for me? But the lore based off your faction, I'd definitely start reading up on. Or even if it's simply just looking at some reels or looking at some some YouTube shorts on the lore of the faction that you want to get into. All of which is going to help you make informed decisions towards that. And it's going to help you out. So just make sure you enjoy the lore, because the lore is a pretty important aspect for me anyway. Not for everyone, but for me. Do you like the playstyle? If you think the Tau look cool, do you think that you're going to enjoy not getting into combat pretty much whatsoever? Or if you do, it's going to be limited and small interactions and it's not going to be too impressive. If you really love combat, but you like the look of Tau, maybe Tau aren't for you, but maybe something in between with robots, with combat as well. So maybe something like Lisa Votan, maybe. Long shot, but having a look at these options and trying to find something that fits in between is going to really help you find an army that you're going to really enjoy. Another reason why playstyle is so important is you're going to be playing with this army for a long time. So just make sure you enjoy it. Super important, but sounds super basic, but super important and needs to make sure it happens. And then budget. Can you afford that army? Or if you're going to buy the army, how long of a time period are you going to have to buy it over? And if that time period suits with the sort of time that you're going to be painting minis anyway, does that work? Just have a think about that, because obviously having a look at the price of the army before you buy it is pretty important in my opinion. Like, I think, I'd always pre-warn about GSC, Sisters, AdMech. They're all really expensive. Fantastic armies, they look great, but they are pretty expensive. So just always have a look at the cost and see if that's going to affect whether you're going to want to do the arm or not a few years down the line when you want to have some options. Super important, but doesn't mean it's not impossible to do. So the rule of cool. The best army in 40k isn't the one with the highest win rate. It's the one that you're still excited to paint a year from now. Rules changes, balance changes, additions come and go. But an army you genuinely love, you're going to love that for a long time, and it's going to be a massive part of your hobby. I'd love to know your answer. What made you fall in love with the army that you're doing right now? What made you think that is the army for me, and that is the army that I'm going to paint in years to come? And the one that you still own now. So let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. So that's my section on rule of cool. It's great. It's a great rule, but not always required. So if you like this sort of content and you like this video, please do drop a like and subscribe. It really helps me out and it really helps my videos get pushed to other viewers. If you want to hype it, drop a hype on it as well. Hype is pretty cool. We hit 1,000 subscribers in the first 7 weeks. So we're going to be aiming for more than that by the end of the year. So we'll see how that goes. But guys, I really hope you enjoyed it. Until the next one, much love. Bye-bye.